They don't want what we know out there.
How a person can go from really almost nothing to becoming a millionaire by owning rental properties.
He would always buy these flip houses, and I just remember thinking, this guy is crazy. Why would he buy that house?
In the past decade, there's been a huge surge in the peer-to-peer short-term rental market.
Become an insider. So you have to know the rules before you get the game.
Every second counts. So make every second count.
Welcome to the Real Estate Jam. Whether you're just beginning or the best of the best, we're glad you're here. We will share successes, failures, and strategies for the action-taking real estate investor. And now to your hosts, JD and Melissa.
Hey guys, welcome to the Real Estate Jam podcast. I'm JD with my wonderful co-host.
Hello, JD. Melissa.
How are you today?
Good, thanks.
Great. Hey, guys, I'm super excited to bring this guest to you today. He's a entrepreneur, real estate investor, coach. He has a couple of really awesome programs I'm sure that we're going to get into. We got Zack Boothe. He's the leader of the Driving for Dollars Mastery podcast. Like I said, real estate investor, buy and hold, fix and flip. He runs a team. A pretty smart dude, so I'm sure he's going to have a lot to share with you today. Zack, thank you so much for coming on our show and finding time for us.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. It's always exciting to be able to give back and help and be on shows like this and meet wonderful people like yourself. So thanks for having me.
Thanks, Zack.
So just in case some of our audience doesn't know who you are or hasn't heard your story before, could you maybe give us a brief introduction and then we'll just take it from there?
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's such an amazing story, but you know, I was a window cleaner. So my professional story is I started a window cleaning business when I was 17 years old, and definitely was pretty sick of that after almost 10 years. And then from there, I went into real estate. I got a couple rentals, and I just had all these barriers. Right. Of, you know, how do I get more debt to income ratios, down payments? I just had issues like becoming a wealthy real estate investor like I dreamed of. And then I discovered that you could do real estate wholesaling. You know, for the audience who doesn't know, it's where you find a discounted opportunity and pass it on for a fee, right? A wholesale fee. And I discovered that, and that changed my life, right? Like then I went big time wholesaling, which gave me cash, which gave me discounted opportunities so that I could flip a few, I could keep a couple as rentals. And then my mentor, Tom Kroll, that taught me how to do it, you know, invited me to come speak at an event and share my success. And then I accidentally became a coach. It was never the intention. And I just started helping some people and I fell in love with it. And then since I loved helping people, I wanted to like do more and put more content and help people. And now I make my life horrible by creating a massive amount of content, you know, TikToks and podcasts and YouTube videos every single week. So it's a labor of love for sure.
Yeah, that's great. And I think one of the things that we were talking about before we started recording, but I'm super interested in is your take at Undercover Billionaire, your 40-day challenge. Can we talk about that kind of first off, what it was and what you did, and then maybe, you know, some of the reasons why you did it, and then a little bit about how it happened. Yeah.
So I love helping people, right? I love helping people get their first deal. I love making an impact in people's lives. So, I kind of give a backstory why I became a coach and kind of how I accidentally became a coach, because it'll give you more perspective of like why I came up with this idea. So 2018, Tom Kroll asked me to speak at a live event that he put together for the company called Wholesaling Inc. Mm-hmm. And they have a great podcast, Wholesaling Inc. Maybe some of the audience has heard of it. So I spoke on stage at Asheville, North Carolina. And Tom asked me to share what I was doing to get so many deals, right? That year I did almost $500,000 in income wholesaling. It was only my second full year doing just wholesaling. And I was doing it using Driving for Dollars, right? And I started doing Driving for Dollars at scale. And so I spoke, and all these people came to me, Zack, like, teach us, like, give us this stuff. And so I'm like answering emails and like helping people just because they asked. And then I met a guy there that invited me to do a self-help journal. It's called Living Your Best Year Ever. And the first 100 pages, you create 3 big goals, and it talks about what you have to do, who you have to be to accomplish these goals. So one of the things it said is whatever your goal is, you have to give it away. So if you want love, you give love. If you want money, you give money. So one of my goals is I wanted to make $1 million the next year, but that meant I had to give away $1 million. And I was like, oh crap. Like, I don't know if I like this journal very much. And so I was like, I went to my wife, I was like, how do we do this? And we kind of brainstormed and was like, well, why don't we just teach my driving for dollar system? Let's find 10 people that are going to implement this stuff. We'll teach them exactly what I did, how I did, help them implement it, and just coach these 10 people. And it was all about just putting $1 million in other people's pockets. So I went to Tom and I said, Tom, I want to coach 10 people. I want to put $1 million. I explained why. And if anyone knows Tom Kroll, he's like, easy peasy lemon squeezy. Let's do it. He's just this like bubbly, wonderful guy. And he's like, let's help these people. And so he's like, so what we're going to do, you can't coach them for free, because if you coach people for free, they won't take it serious. They won't implement. So you're going to charge them all $2,000, and then you're going to give all that money to me, and I'm going to teach you how to coach. So that's exactly what we did. And so I gave $20,000 to Tom, and he taught me how to teach. So I was essentially teaching these people for free and teaching them at the highest capacity I could, with the best coach coaching me how to coach. And it was life-changing. It was life-changing for me. It was life-changing for my students. My very first student in a year and a half texted me. He says, I know your goal is $1 million total for all 10 of us. I've now hit $1 million myself, just from what you taught me. As Michael McLeish, right? Scott Dallinger, one of my other first 10, his first deal, $113,000. Right? Quit his corporate job. And so like, I'm getting chills. So these students had life-changing success. But the craziest thing is the more I taught, the more they started asking me. It's like, Zach, like, what about this? How do you do this? And it's like, well, I don't know. Maybe I should figure that out. Right. And so it made me be better. And I actually did $1.2 million in my wholesaling business that year. Like it happened. I was so blown away, right? My students achieved the $1 million. I achieved the $1 million. But I found a purpose. I found something that meant so much more than money. It was, I was making money wholesaling, and I was helping, and I was making an impact, and I felt like I had value. Like I was having my cake and eating it too. So when that happened, I was like, well, I want to coach more. I became addicted. I want to coach more. How do I coach more? And I continued to pay Tom to teach me how to do better and build a business around coaching and helping people. And I started discovering something. There's a lot of skeptics. There was a lot of people who are like, Zach, you're a guru. You don't do this. You just make money telling people they can do this. Like, and I'm like, yeah, I get the skepticism, but that's not me. Like, I'm not saying that there's not coaches that are that way. And it was bothering me. Like, cause there were so many people I could help, but because of that skepticism, and rightly so, right? Cause not every coach out there cares about their people. I was like, well, how do I encourage people that they can do it, that it is possible, and I know exactly what they need to be successful? Like, what can I do? How can I help people at a higher level and change their mindset, change their belief? Because with no belief, there's no massive action. And with no massive action, there's no results. And with no results, there's no progress, right? They just spiral downwards in life instead of spiral upwards. It's like, how do I change that belief? And so I had got done watching Undercover Billionaire. It was a suggestion by Tom Kroll. If the audience doesn't know what this is, it's the coolest TV show ever, and you got to go watch it. It's way cooler than my 40-day challenge I did, I promise. But there's this billionaire, and his response, there's 2 seasons. I've only watched the first season, right? But this billionaire, his responsibility is to take, I think he gets like $100, a smartphone, and a beat up truck, right? And he has to go out and turn it into $1 million company. I think it's like in 90 days. Right. So this dude's living in his truck, cleaning toilets. I'm like, this guy's amazing. Right. I'd swear, because it's so exciting. Right. But I'm not going to swear on your show. So he's just this incredible guy, just kicking butt, and he doesn't quite hit the goal, but he shows how possible it is, and the grind and the determination, and regardless of your situation. And so I wanted to do that with real estate, because I thought, if I could allow people to see me suffer and see me doing it and see what it takes, they'd realize that, yes, it requires a massive amount of work ethic and the right action steps, but you put those 2 things together and they could do it. Right? Instead of just me promoting my coaching, why don't I just go teach it for free and show it live and show it in real life and actually make a massive impact? And so I did. And that's what the 40-day challenge was. Is I was like, okay, well, I can't do it where I live, because people are like, well, you just have connections and you have your team and you have old leads and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, fair. I got to go somewhere I'd never been. So I flew across the country, and I was like, well, not everyone has deep pockets. So I only get $1,000. right? Obviously that didn't cover my housing and, food and that kind of stuff. But I was like, well, people probably shouldn't try this business unless they can cover their living expenses and maybe an extra $1,000, right? So it's like, that's fair. So I get $1,000 to find these discounted opportunities and pass them on for a finder's fee. And my goal was 40 grand in 40 days because it sounds good for marketing and because 40 grand was the average American income, right? So I was like, let's do it in 40 days. Let's go do it. And I did. And it was a huge success as far as we hit the goal, but it was a lot of work and it really sucked because I was back in like I guess you could call it the trenches of doing the work, doing the cold calling, going on appointments where I have a team now that does that for me. And so it was good. And it was helped me relate better to my students again and actually being there doing it. So it was an incredible experience.
Yeah, that's
really
awesome.
cool.
So when you where did you go?
I chose Tampa, Florida.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a great market just right down the road from us.
Nice.
That's
and I didn't like, for the audience, I was like, oh, why Tampa? Is Tampa like a secret sauce? It's like, no, it was warm and it was January and there was flights to Brazil for my wife to go visit her family in Sao Paulo, Brazil. So, it was literally for convenience. This can be done anywhere. That's what I wanted to show. It wasn't like I hand selected a market that I had the best chances of succeeding.
Right. And I think too that it could have been any major market. It could have been any small market. We know other investors, other wholesalers who are in rural areas that are doing, $40,000 a month in wholesale fees. But it just picking up and going to someplace else was the goal, and you achieved that goal. So what did you do to start bringing in leads? You mentioned cold calling. Were you bandit signing it? What did it look like when you started from zero leads to bringing in a couple of good deals?
So for anyone that's seeing the video here, I'm pointing at my shirt. So just the audio people, I'm gonna tell you what's on my shirt. It says Driving for Dollars Mastery. So I started driving for dollars back at the end of 2017. And it's because I was struggling to find discounted opportunities using things like PropStream and some of these general lists that you can get from the city and county records. And I had such a small marketing budget that I felt like I was going to go under, right? Like I would spend a ton of money on marketing. I'd find a deal and be able to barely cover my bills, but I had very little money for marketing. So I was in this rat race of trying to have a surplus of money to take care of my family and enough marketing money to get the next deal. And I just, deals dried up for 2 months. I didn't do a deal for 2 months. I was like, what am I going to do? Right. And then I started driving for dollars. I thought I came up with the idea. I'm an idiot. It's been around for eternity. I didn't come up with the idea. Right. And so I was like, well, what happened is I had done 10 deals. And I'm like, man, every single deal I went to, I was driving down the street looking for the house number. And I was like, oh, there's the house. And it wasn't even the house number. It was the house, it was like, duh, it's the one that has physical signs of neglect. So I'm like, shoot, why don't I just drive around neighborhoods and just find the ugly houses? And that's what I'll market to. I'll spend way less money and get, way more money for way less marketing dollars. It might be a little bit more effort, but I got effort. I don't have money. Right. And then it became a thing where it's I'm doing it on volume. And I thought it was just to get a few deals. I didn't realize that it's something that you could start off from scratch, get your first deal traditionally known, but it's something that you can scale. And since I had never been told that you couldn't do it at scale, I figured out how to do it at scale, right? Because I thought I came up with the idea. And then we found out there's technology and that kind of stuff. So to answer your question, I just did what I was doing, which was driving for dollars. So I downloaded the Deal Machine app. I drove through the area and I found the houses with physical signs of neglect. I added them to my marketing list through Deal Machine. I bought phone numbers through batch skip tracing. I uploaded that marketing list and phone numbers into a cold calling platform called mojosells.com, and I cold called. And then when someone said they wanted to sell, I went and met with them and signed the contract. I mean, the process is pretty simple, right? But I remember there was a 4-day stint from the time I woke up till I went to bed, I cold called. I was cooking and cold calling, right? My computer's next to the stove and I'm cooking, I brought elk burgers because I like venison. So I brought elk burgers and salmon with me to Florida. And so I'm cooking up my elk burgers or my moose burgers while I'm cold calling, and so it was a lot of work. It was kind of boring work, but I did 3 wholesale deals and cherry picked 2 properties as rentals. So I did $93,000 in wholesale fees off the 3 that I wholesaled, and I got over $110,000 in equity in the 2 rentals I purchased.
Well, that's pretty
crazy.
amazing. I think one of the things that to mention to our listeners is, we're part of a couple of different masterminds, high level masterminds across the country, and consistently, what we're hearing at these masterminds is the biggest spreads really the biggest spreads on deals are coming from their driving for dollars list, followed after that by the probate list. And a lot of these bigger companies don't have the time or the scaled out ability to go and do the driving for dollars. And so when you're starting out, you taking that extra effort to get that list, which is going to be a good list, is super beneficial.
100%. Yeah. If y'all are like kind of struggling and you're not doing driving for dollars, you're going at it 100% the wrong way. 100%. Don't buy prop stream lists if you're not doing driving for dollars. Start with driving for dollars.
Yeah, absolutely. We agree with that. Now, so for some of maybe our more advanced guys, what are the steps you're putting in to be able to start to scale this? I think the problem that we've had with our list in scaling our driving for dollars method is just finding consistent, reliable drivers. I think that's probably the number one thing that we struggle with in scaling out our driving for dollars program.
Yeah. So what I've done is I actually served a Christian mission in Brazil, Sao Paulo, Brazil, learned Portuguese, and my wife's from Brazil, and I love Brazilians, right? So I'm connected with the Brazilian community here in Utah, and I think I have like 4 or 5 Brazilians that work for me, right? And I'm sponsoring immigration, and I'm really helping people understand the immigration process is absolutely horrible. So I apologize for anyone that has to deal with that. It's the worst, right? So, anyways, with that being said, I really tapped into a community of people that really want the work, need the work, and I have the opportunity to help them. And if you really want to be a successful entrepreneur at scale and have a business, you need to realize your business is just as much for the people that work in it as it is for you. Right? Like if you're not finding ways to add value to people's lives other than a paycheck, you're going to struggle, right? You're going to be the dictator, and they're going to resent you, and you're going to resent them. And you're going to say things like, you can't find anyone that can work anymore. This generation is crappy compared to XY generation, and blah, blah, blah. Right? And everyone's wanting to fight each other instead of working and cooperating. So if it's done right and you hire right and you build a culture and everything else, the way we structure our driving for dollars at scale, I'm going to break down my numbers so you know what it looks like at scale. Obviously, the 40-day challenge, you can see what it looks like from day one. It's one outreach strategy, doing the driving yourself. Like you can quickly build a team once you have $100,000, right? So you got to do this in the beginning, but then from there, this is how you scale. So what I do is I have one driver. That one driver drives 30 hours a week. Okay. That's it. We use the Deal Machine app. We add 2,000 properties to our marketing list every single week. So how do we add so many properties? It's very simple. We add any physical signs of neglect. We add about 100 properties every single hour of driving. We drive median house prices and lower. Okay. You might think, oh, there's not enough discounted houses, rundown houses. Yeah, Utah's the highest inflated, one of the best economies, least amount of rundown houses, least amount of absentee owner houses in the country, right? So if you can't do it in your market, right, you're doing it wrong. Okay, I want to say that. So you go 2,000 houses. Well, when do you redrive, right? You're going to have to end up redriving. Exactly. We redrive every single one of our areas every 6 months. Why do we do that? We want a fresh list because we want the houses that have deferred maintenance now. That's why we don't do virtual and look at Google Maps images. We want fresh data, right? We want the couch on the lawn today, not it was a year ago.
Right.
Right. So we redrive our market every 6 months. Once we build this list, we have 3 outreach strategies to market to that list. We text, we cold call, and we send postcards. So the way you scale your marketing around driving for dollars, either you add more properties every single week or you add to your outreach strategy. So you start with one outreach strategy, start with a base amount of properties you add each week, and then you can scale either of those two. Right. So our sequence is we do 2 text message attempts, 3 cold call attempts, and 2 postcard outreaches. And then whoever tells us no through texting or cold calling originally, we take them out. We don't send them postcards. Right. So this is our system. We have VA cold callers. I have people that do my texting and systems in place where I don't have to touch any of it at this point. So my numbers, I can give you some numbers. Y'all want some actual data?
Everybody loves real data.
Okay, so you guys know legitimately. So to my driving for dollars list, I sent 19,155 text messages. Right now it is July 19th, 2022. So far for this year, 19,155 text messages. We got 1,656 responses. 37 of those actually wanted a sale. Of those 37, 6 of them wanted retail, meaning that we passed it to our real estate agent. They turned into deals for our agent. We got 19 appointments. We signed 7 contracts. We generated $141,000, $141,200. Our cost was roughly $10,000. So our exact net on just texting the driving for dollars, this is $134,422. So not too shabby, right?
That's awesome. No, that's
not too shabby. Like do that with any other list. I dare you. Okay. Mojo, cold calling. We did 1,868 hours on the dialer. Our cold callers had 14,734 conversations. 357 people said they wanted to sell. It only turned into 18 appointments, 9 contracts, $175,027. And our net was about $157,924 after paying our VA cold callers. Not too shabby either. Postcards this year is really rough for some reason. We've sent 58,000 postcards, and we've actually only gotten 1 contract out of that of $17,000 deal. So we actually have lost a little bit of money on postcards this year, which is really odd because it completely flip-flopped. We did about 100,000 postcards last year and generated about $400,000 in revenue. So 400,000, we only spent about $40,000 on postcards. So we've had some weird things that we're looking at and tracking. And so I track my numbers very carefully. I know exactly what's going on. I have some theories why that is happening with some of the changes in regulations around texting and cold calling, and more people are doubling down on postcards. So I track all these things because not only do I want to know to make the biggest amounts of profits possible, is I need this for my students, right? I need to be able to say, this is what's working. This is what's working now. Why do this, not this, right?
Yeah, I think we've seen a lot of pullback for the direct mail stuff from a lot of the people that we've talked to. You can't pinpoint it to you change your postcard or anything crazy like that.
No, nothing. Like so. I don't have my 2021 numbers. I should have had them ready to go, but yeah, I have some theories. My theory is this: texting and cold calling has become harder to get delivered to the carriers. So there's been some, federal regulations where the phone carriers have to follow certain procedure for blast in marketing text messages to be delivered to their users, to the end users of the cell phone, right? So you might be doing a text blast, but people aren't even seeing it, right? So for those that have been in this industry long enough, that have been doing text messaging, they saw a major decline in responses from delivered. So we found a way to do it legally and correctly, right? Which is what I teach my students, to where our response rates are almost double what they were. Right. And I believe it's because there's way less people texting because there's a higher barrier of entry. It's just like driving for dollars. It's a little bit more barrier of entry to do versus like PropStream. So it works better. So our texting has worked way better this year. But I think what's happened is those people that have struggled with texting and cold calling are like, oh, it's not working for us. Let's go to postcards. Right. So there's more people in postcards, which is going to equal less response rates. They're going to be overwhelmed with postcards in comparison to before. So that's my theory. I don't know for sure, but I just know what my numbers are, and I'm pivoting according to what is working at the current moment.
Right. So what does that pivot look like? Are you going to change your system and change your process? So maybe you're not sending out those postcards, or switch to long form letter or something instead?
Great question. So I think what we're going to do for now is we're going to pull up every single postcard deal that we've done in the last 24 months. And we're going to look at the exact zip codes.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then we're going to go, okay, just those zip codes get postcards from now on.
Okay. Yeah, that's great.
So, and then we're going to test that and see how that goes. And check the data over 6 months and see what we think. And if it explodes, maybe we'll test it again, and we could test different postcards. In the past, I've tested lots of different postcards, handwritten font, lots of things. I get a lot higher response rate sometimes with certain postcards that may cost more money, but a lot of times it's just more go FUs, right? Yeah. Remove us from your list. It's not necessarily more leads, more money.
Mm-hmm. Right. Even if you're getting more leads, but you're paying 3 times as much to send a letter, does it really equal out is something to consider.
Exactly.
Well, I think that you've given a lot of value in this podcast, but I think our listeners might be curious on how they can find out more about your 40-day challenge, where they can see that at, how they can contact you in the future if they're interested in finding. Obviously, the Driving for Dollars Mastery podcast is a great resource, but where would you like them to go if they want to learn more about you?
Yeah, so I just said it through the chat. This is the quick link for the 40-day challenge. It's dfdmastery.com/40 and 40. You can also catch it for free on my YouTube channel, right? Get the full playlist. The cool thing about this quick link is I'll also send you a bunch of other free information and that kind of stuff when you go through the quick link, right? I'll email you a bunch of other free resources. So that's probably the best place to start, right? I know some people are like, oh, I need a coach. Like, cool. Go watch the 40-day challenge and then shoot me a DM on Instagram. Let me know that you're interested in the coaching. You can go to my website and book a call and talk to us about it and how it works. But my suggestion is this with a coach, right? If those that are thinking about a coach, don't just go hire a coach immediately, right? Don't just go hire me as a coach. Big mistake. The reason for this, you need to identify exactly what you want to achieve. Right. So if you guys want to get your first deal, if you guys are struggling to get deals, period, maybe you've done 1 or 2, but you're struggling and you need a driving for dollar system like this to make a lot of money, make sure what I teach is exactly what you want. So if you're trying to do multifamily syndications or developments, don't hire me. I'm not your guy, so make sure whoever you're looking at for a coach does consistently doing what you're trying to do. Right? Not someone that teaches it in theory, not someone that used to do it, but someone that's actively doing and tracking what's working and what's not working in the current moment. The next thing is, are they consistently helping and getting results for other people? Right? So if the first step, you're like, oh yeah, Zach's doing it. Zach's doing exactly what I want to do. Go check my success stories. Go look at, before we got on this podcast, I showed him my office and my success wall with all the pictures of my successful students. I've got a gazillion testimonial videos. I married one of my students. I'm tight with my students. So double check that that's the case. Okay. And then the third piece is make sure you like me. So if you found me to be arrogant or annoying or, that happens often, I think, just ask my wife, then I'm not your guy. Right. So those are the 3 things. That I'm currently doing it, right? Or the coach is currently doing it, that person is helping other people do it, and that you like the person, right? That you're confident that he's not going to have you do things that are against your moral compass, right? That you could sit down and hang out and have coffee. But if there's not good vibes, there's probably going to be something down the line that you're not going to be comfortable with.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great information. Mm-hmm. Well, we really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for sharing with our audience. And we look forward to speaking to you in the future.
Thanks, Zach.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Jam. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. For more information, check out our website, therealestatejam.com. Or find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at The Real Estate Jam. If you have any questions, feel free to drop us an email at therealestatejam@gmail.com. See you next episode.